All right, we'll call to order the January 8th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Meeting. Nate, you want to take the roll?
Hoppy,
Here.
Kellogg,
Here.
McFarland,
Here.
and Schrock.
Here.
And we did hear from all the others. They're unable to make it tonight. Sorry.
That's good. Is there any questions on the notes from last meeting?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
Hoppy,
Aye.
Schrock,
Aye.
Kellogg,
Yes.
McFarland.
Aye. All right, Nate, what do you got?
All right, so we got the variance request for the freight container down at Tobacco Hut. We've got JJ Hawksworth here, 815 South Washington Street. The specific request is a variance of 17 feet from the required 20-foot side yard setback, 3 feet from the required 10-foot rear yard setback, and then as the legislation spelled out, each individual use of the containers has to be approved by this board. So, sent out the surrounding property owner notifications, received a letter from Mr. Mullet that you've all got a copy of. No other responses were received. All I've got.
Okay, well, we'll open it up for discussion.
Did you want to say anything or anything more?
Yeah, sure. I'm not quite sure why I need a variance. Now, we'll get into the variance here in a minute, if you decide I need one, but why do I need one? There was no law or rule in effect when that container was put there. Under
There was.
B2.
There
Not-
was a variance rule.
Yeah.
There was a property line rule. That was
Where?
that was already in place
Where?
before you did that.
Where?
So
I get, I mean,
in the B2, in any zoning district, there are developments.
but there was variances for construction and stuff. It never addressed, ever, the buildings, the
Stores.
accessory storage buildings, or none of that was ever in B2. It was in additional residential district, which is still in. It was never under the B2.
Well, your zoning
Well, I say
district's
B2
B1.
because that's not,
It's
I'm in B2.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
Oh.
On the application.
Okay.
It is B2.
There was never a rule that I could find, or the variance that regulated that. Where's it at? Because I got all the papers here, the new ones and the previous ones. I don't see it. I don't see that where I done anything wrong.
Well, first of all, the trailer was moved in there. When? Do you have a date and
March.
time?
Yeah,
And was it moved in there?
yeah.
Okay. And with the intent of putting it in there and not having anybody catch you. That's what the intent was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
What time of day was it?
You've had this thing before. You've been in here before on other
I've never been
variances.
here one time. What are you talking about? I don't understand where you're coming from, or what you're talking about. I've
Well,
been in here one time before, and that was back. I don't know what you're talking about.
I would say that if I was coming in here in front of the people and asking for something, that I would probably be as gracious and as calm and as not, I would probably be willing to listen and stay. That would be how I would be if I was in here, not challenging whether you needed to go through all this or not. That's how I would be. Setting the tone.
I want to listen.
What?
I'm asking, where does it say, where's the rule at?
what's the great problem with having having this 3 feet variance, when you've got a whole building there that could be put in. What's the matter with that barn?
And these repairs done.
Could you stick the trailer in, could you stick that storage container in the barn?
No,
Why?
it's too high.
No, it didn't.
No,
No, it didn't.
Containers too high.
the
I bet you
containers.
go down there and
too-
measure
It's
it.
too high in the barn. Yes, it is. Have you went down and measured it? I mean, it's too high. It will not fit in the barn.
Well, then you should dig out and put it in there. You made a whole platform for the trailer to begin with. What would make 6 inches make a difference if you go in there and take a
So
bite?
I should dig out
Do we have a date
underneath
for
the
when
barn.
that variance
Hey.
was, like,
You made enough
I'd
trouble
wait till
digging
we talk
out
about
to
that.
put that path in there to set it
I
on.
got nothing to put the pad in, I'm sorry.
And you're too close to the bowling alley for one thing. That's a variance right there as far as fire hazard. You're coming in here with the intention of putting this in there, hoping the village does not catch you. You've had it in there for over 6 months now, and it should have been moved before when you come in the first time to apply because it wasn't properly placed. It should have been taken out of there and totally removed. And then we would have discussed, even under the new rules, whether it could be put in there. You have a whole barn, you have a whole area, you could put it in front of that barn, you wouldn't have to be there. There's no reason that you have to extend over into the other people's property.
That interferes with your other rules and the parking lot rules, and there's all the other variances.
Nate, you want to address the, Mr. Hawksworth's question?
For the setbacks.
So every zoning district has development standards with setbacks for structures from property line to the structure.
Structures.
This is a structure.
Well, it was never addressed, this structure was never addressed under B2 or B1.
Right.
It was addressed under structures as it defines it here, under additional residential. That's where all the storage sheds got moved in, because there was no rule on the business side.
Right.
It was on the residential side.
And we've since updated the legislation to address that.
That's why
I
we
think,
did, that's
yes.
why we didn't make you move it.
Right.
That's why we did, so you're right. There may not have been then, but there is now.
There is now.
So
but
now
there's
we're
setback.
but we're addressing it now with
We're
the
addressing
new.
it now, but the rules
It-
were put into effect in November.
So we let you sit, it got to sit there while we did all that.
I told you you could keep it there because we had done that for one other person and I wasn't going to treat you one way and treat somebody else a different way. I
Right.
wanted you both treated the same way and he was allowed to keep his until we got the rules correct. You were allowed to keep yours until we got the rules correct. So now the rules are all correct. The setback rules have been in place for every zoning district, not just for this type of structure, but for any structure. They've been in place. So now here we are today discussing this again. So you've been allowed to have that because it took us a long time. It took us 2 months to get it on and then it took us another month and a half to get it passed. So you've had this here for a long time and we allowed that. I allowed that because we did it for somebody else. I'm going to do it for you. And so now here we are to discuss it. It doesn't matter that we didn't have the rules last time. We have them now, like Andrea said. So now we're here to discuss it. So now Dave's explaining to you about how far your structure is from the bowling alley and from the other businesses around you.
Well, it just seems to me like the rule got made up after the fact.
It's gonna be applied to everybody. It's to fix this. It was to fix this for everybody, because you know what happened? People got on social media, didn't come in here to a meeting and said, well, they got them at Walmart and all these places all over, so we made sure it was clear. Because that's what happened, is everybody started saying, you let this person do it, and so you have to set you have to then put your foot, you're lucky that we don't go back and say that you should be, because you did it after the fact, you don't get the $150 fine that we've now put in
Well,
place
there's
for
a
people.
fine, I'm sorry, but the rule wasn't put into effect until November here.
Well,
I
originally,
think.
at our last meeting, I said you had 2 weeks to get it out.
Yeah, originally that was what we all
And it was
voted on.
because
Yep.
we did not want to treat.
So we showed.
Grace.
We showed grace.
Right, and
We,
I-
and so if I were you, I would be grateful because we could have made you move that thing and then bring it back.
What,
I would be a little humble about that if I was coming in
in the
here.
time it's been allowed to sit there, what have you done to make it in compliance with what the rules are?
the numbers aren't on it.
Is that it?
Well, is it in compliance?
So it's just on there, sorry, give me a second. Yeah, the markings have to be removed and there has to be skirting between any opening, between the container and adjacent ground, if there's any openings there. And then get board approval.
And the setbacks.
Right, any structure has to
yeah,
meet
right.
setback requirements or
Right.
have it
That,
covered by.
So
the-
that's
that's not
not
new.
been in compliance, is the setbacks.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, nothing's new there. We've always required permits for all of these things. You know,
I mean, I just didn't see it, I don't see it in here. And then the setbacks, when you ask about these setbacks, it is not 10 feet. The setbacks actually, if you go to B2, the property is not even big enough for these setbacks, for the rules. That's why, there again, you ask for, if we're saying I need a variance, which I guess we are, well, because you're saying there
You do
was
need a
the
variance. You do need a variance. That's why you're here.
rule. Okay.
If this container will not fit on your property, you have to have a variance.
So the
Is-
variance says,
is there a way to make it fit on your property without needing a variance?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can you pull it forward?
For what for? It's gonna be into the parking lot.
Can you move it over against the barn?
Then you're blocking the barn access.
What do you use the barn for?
It's ready to fall down.
Why?
What do you need, if you can use the barn, then why don't you just use the barn to store all your stuff?
Maybe that's in the works. Maybe that's a plan. Who
Well,
knows?
then why are you needing the shipping container?
Because I need to use that right now.
But you're saying it could be in the works that you're gonna use the barn.
It could be, but that's in the works. Things just don't happen you need time to do these things.
I guess I'm confused because that barn has been on your property the whole time.
Okay?
So why was that not in the works to begin with?
Well, first of all, the barn's gonna cost a whole lot more to do anything with. Second of all, if you do commercial stuff in there, then you got the state, you got a whole bunch of stuff you gotta do. That's a big undertaking.
But you just said it could be in the works.
I've talked to people about that barn. I've had discussions with construction companies about that barn. I've talked to them for a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, there's been talks, there's been plans,
I got a
shipping,
question. If Mr. Mullet would shove some of his property over on you, how would you like this board to resolve this question?
I don't have anything on his property.
I say, how would you like it if he had something of his property shoved over on your property? How would you like this board to react?
Well, you can't put stuff on my property.
Well, that's what he's saying too. You can't put stuff on his property.
I don't have anything on his property.
You will have if we grant this.
Not on his property, no, absolutely not.
Just be closed,
It's-
it'll be close to his.
None of that is on his property. Absolutely nothing. I don't go on his property. Nothing of mine goes on his property. There's been fights over that for years and years and years. I don't do anything to his property.
So when you think, let me just ask you this for the record. When you think that there's laws or rules, do you think they should be enforced? Should laws and government rules, should they be enforced?
Probably, yes.
If somebody
It all
steals
depends on
if
what
somebody
it was.
steals something out of your store, do you want us to come and arrest that person?
Sure. Am I stealing anything?
No,
No, it's just
no,
an example.
I'm
no.
talking about laws and rules.
Well, and that's why I was trying to ask you, where is the rule? That's what I was trying to figure out. Where is the rule?
There's one
This
now.
is. Yes, there's one now after the fact.
There
That's-
always has.
There's
Of the
always
setback.
has been setback rules.
Setback rules.
There's setback rules, but when I read it, it does not look like,
So, but laws and rules are open to interpretation.
oh,
The setback rules are pretty
Yeah.
clear cut.
Yeah.
for buildings and stuff, but it never, when I read it, and when I looked at it, it did not address accessory buildings and structures. On the B2,
At the
it
top.
has setback rules. It has setback rules for,
Right, and
Structures.
we were always under the impression that our code was correct, but then discovered that that was strictly for residential.
So it's
so there
corrected.
was mistakes made, so I might have read it wrong. All right, but
That's
that's why I said when the first time I was in here, I did not know that there was a rule about these things.
So-
I heard years and years and years ago that there was one about residential, it was on the radio, I think, and I heard something. I never in a million years thought that a shipping container was being regulated in a business district, because they're used, millions of businesses use,
Right.
Where in the village is one being used right now, other than,
what's that?
where in the village right now is one being used?
I believe up at DNS, the rock place, there's a couple of them up there, they got,
Walmart uses them
Mm-hmm.
for their
Walmart
holiday
uses them.
things.
Now, theirs are going right now, when they come in, they sit there for, now, last year, they sat there a whole lot longer, this year they're going, but they're in and out, in and out.
Right.
That's another.
They're
place where-
temporary.
Okay, so that's another place where the rules now, I wanted to get into that, but we might as well over here. The rules don't clarify that. So I still think there's some fixing that need done to the rules now. Because it almost looks like now, you cannot have a container because you don't specify how long. It don't look like if you wanted to go down there and build a great big factory. Now, it doesn't look like you can have a tool shed. And these people now are bringing in their workshops. Their workshops are built into these containers. They drop those containers off. Their whole business is, not business, but their whole setup are in these containers.
Who's doing that?
Well, Walmart does that. The people was down there doing their ventilation on the backside of Walmart. They had their whole workshop. It's kind of neat. Their whole workshop, they drop it off and they work out of this as like a mini garage. And that's where they work out of.
When Walmart did the remodel, I worked on the remodel years ago, and we had 6 shipping containers because we needed to move stuff out, move stuff in, move stuff back out, move stuff back in. But those are just temporary. That's like the people working on that. They bring it in, it's their shop, they work on it, it's temporary, and then it's gone. It's not gonna sit there for, the next year.
Right, I understand that, but if I read the rules now, I don't address that.
So here's how I see what happened. This is what it, so they were correct. They found out that it didn't address business. We had voted prior to that for you to move. So we could have just said, you know what, you're gonna move your thing. We're gonna do the legislation, but you had talked about the expense of moving it and all that. So we decided. So Mercy, we let you continue to use that shipping container, allowed it to be there until we addressed all of this to clean all of this up, and so we could have not done that. Would you have better because there wasn't a rule that we told you fine? I don't know. I don't understand why do you understand what I'm saying?
No, not really, but, because yes and no. I understand what you're saying, but if there was not a rule before then, it's almost like I went speeding down the road at 55 miles per hour, and then after I done it, you changed the speed limit sign and gave me a ticket.
At that time, your setbacks weren't right, so we could have just moved you because of that.
Yeah, it
We
didn't
could
have
have,
to
we
be
could have
because
just
of the
moved you.
container.
We could have just moved you because of the setbacks.
There's no way to meet those setbacks, though.
So you
Not even the
knew,
village,
so
but-
you knew there was
But
no
it's
way to
illegal.
meet those setbacks, so you went ahead and put it in anyway.
No, for construction. I always say construction, building something. Actually digging a hole, putting a 4x4 in, constructing.
But
Like,
if you
if I
put up
wanna
a fence,
build-
but if you put up a fence, you can't, I couldn't put a fence on my property line. That's the same thing. There's setbacks for that as well.
But in B2 now, I found where it wasn't. There was no rule for, on B2, I'm sorry. I didn't do a whole lot of reading in B1.
Did you fill out the application for variance?
Yes.
Okay. So where it said applicant's reason for appeal, the setback, and this is your handwriting, I assume. The setback required are almost impossible to meet.
Right.
So you knew at the time that you weren't gonna be able to meet those.
Yeah, I talked to Nate. Nate, that's when I found out that supposedly there was a rule. Or no rule. I guess
Well, it's not supposedly there were rules in place for this kind of thing.
What's that?
It's not supposedly there were setback rules for any structure.
When we changed the ordinance, we didn't change the setbacks.
No.
The only thing that got changed was how we deal with shipping containers in non-residential districts.
I understand you didn't change the setbacks, but it was never in the B2 part. So the setbacks didn't apply to something that wasn't there.
Every property in town has a setback rule, no
Let-
matter
It
what
does- yeah.
district it's in.
It
Let's-
doesn't matter what district it's in.
Let's say the ordinance gets passed in November. You don't know about it. In December, you put the storage container up. What would you be in here arguing then? Same still setbacks are not right. Same thing. It'd be moot. It would be moot because there was a thing. So you were not harmed because your thing got to sit there. You were not harmed. You got to use it.
For almost a year, you've gotten to use
So you
it.
were not, since March, first you told somebody February, now you're saying March, so for 10 months, you've been able to use that.
No.
When did you put it in?
I bought it in February.
When,
It was put in March.
so 10 months.
Right.
10 months.
Yeah, I mean,
You've
I'm
got
not
to,
changing
so
my
you
story.
weren't harmed. You got to use it.
Mhm.
You weren't harmed.
Right. People made money, the village made money.
We made money.
Everybody made money. Because that container was sitting there. So that's one of my, that's one of my things, that container is making money. I mean, Mr. Schrock, you wanna know about taxing. Hey, you're getting tax money off that container, whether you know it or not. It's not being taxed, but the more I make, the more I sell, the more the village gets. And that thing makes money.
Still goes back to the same old thing. I put it in there, hope I don't get caught. If I get caught, I'm gonna come in and cry that I'm using it. And it's,
Absolutely
and
not.
I think I ought to be able to keep it there, yeah, no. As far as I'm saying, no.
Absolutely not, Mr. Schrock, was not my intention, ever. Like I told you, I did not think there was a rule, I never would
If-
have thought there was a rule on a shipping container.
If you turn the trailer to face north and south instead of east and west, can you put it in that area?
No, I can't get it to go inside the building, or inside the doors. The far doors.
Is the container full now?
Yes, no, I not full,
Ah.
but I do have another shipment coming in, it's already coming.
Yeah, well, then the next thing will be is I got another trailer coming in, I got another container coming in, I wanna set it right next to that one. Same old
And-
story, same
okay.
old story, if it's
No,
there.
Now, okay. I wanted to keep this one here. Why can't I bring another one in? Why can't I bring another trailer in temporarily? No, hold on, no, temporarily, why not? I can I?
You don't have any room, you can't move this one, you can't put another one, where are you gonna put the other one? It's gonna hurt your parking. You know?
Okay, it's not any different than a semi-trailer. Now, are you saying and I'm just asking, is there setback rules on putting a semi-trailer in? This is,
If you park your semi-trailer right there, then you wouldn't have to come in here and talk to us at all,
where?
right in front of that barn.
Yep.
If you're taking up the parking, I can't get stuff around there.
Yeah, you can. There's a car right there now.
That,
You can't get
if you,
semis. There's
if you
semis
put it
that
right
come around
there,
there.
if you put it right
Well, you got
there,
that semi in there to put the trailer in, you must have come in along that north side.
Right.
So that means you could get another trailer in.
There's trucks and trailers that come around, there's not enough room. There's trucks and trailers, because I've had semis hit the building already. I mean, there's semis that come around, try to make that turn, the pop guy comes around like that, the delivery people come around.
our downtown delivery guys, their semis park out on street.
Do you really want them working out?
They park in the middle, I watched them
That's
park
where
right in the
they,
middle
that's
of the
where
thing,
they,
and
that's
I'm
where they
I
park.
don't think that's very safe.
Right there in front, too.
I've seen them park, stop in the middle of the thing and do some, I mean, I don't know, I'm not
I
saying.
wouldn't necessarily think that's the way to go about doing something like that. It's not really safe, but, I mean,
Well,
I've seen them do it, but.
What,
I'm just
I
saying, there's a
agree.
lot of businesses in town that don't have room for semis, that's all I'm saying. And semis still they still get deliveries from semis, even though there's not room.
Well,
But
I'm trying to say, the trucks and trailers, the Amish come through there with their trailers, there's not enough that you can.
I'm just telling you that if that's where it was, you wouldn't need our permission for anything.
No.
But I believe I would, because those are not the B2 setbacks, those are the residential setbacks. Because the B2 setbacks are way different than the residential setbacks.
I
So
have
is
the
the
setback, I
residential
have the
one-
setback experts sitting right here.
Yeah.
And
Who's that?
if these two,
You,
and if you were in compliance with the setbacks, it wouldn't be on our paperwork.
Yeah.
well, I'm in compliance with, if it's,
If
I'm
you
in
were
compliance
correct
with
with
none
your
of them.
setbacks, it would not be on this paper because Nate would know, Chad would know that you're fine with setbacks. If you were in your district, then we wouldn't be discussing that at all. It would just be about your shipping container.
but I don't think where you drew your circle, I still don't think I'd be okay under the B2 ones. What do I need to do, the B2 or the residential setbacks?
B2.
Well, then that's not correct, 10 feet. Because the 10 feet is, I think, the residential one. The B2,
Any accessory structure has to meet the side yard setback requirements of the district it's located in,
okay, that's B2.
10 feet from the rear.
And then, yeah, I read that, so it's gotta be in the district setback as the district it's in,
And then B2, that's 20 feet.
which is B2.
20 feet.
20 feet and
But then
B2.
that's where it gets a little bit iffy too. Because now under B2, under the new rules, past 11/11/24, you gotta go to
We're not here.
117301, which is the additional residential district standards, which they give you different. So that's where you're making your apples and your oranges.
That's additional residential. You're
And
not
it's still-
No,
residential.
and that was one
And
of
that's
the,
still new.
that was one of the things that was changed. That heading isn't correct. That was.
Yeah,
one of the
that
things
heading
that
is not
was
correct.
Well, according to this, it was done on 11/11/24.
It's supplementary, I'm sorry, additional,
It's still
Title
says-
7 is supplementary zoning regulations. And one of the pieces of legislation was to take that residential part out.
Correct.
Well, and that's what you told me, that's, the residential is gonna get taken out. That's where it made it illegal for everybody. But somewhere, this got put on the internet, I mean, this is up to date as of 11/11/24, so in November. So, has it changed since,
We took the residential out since.
in November? Because you told me the residential was taken out back in June.
December? It wasn't June.
No.
Yeah, because you said then it made it illegal because the residential was taken out because you wanted it to be for everybody, but then that made it illegal for commercial places to have containers at all because it says.
It was
containers
only
cannot
for
be
residential.
used- Residentials can't be, container can't be used for commercial
Right.
purposes. And that's when you said it was changed.
We were in the process of changing it and changing all the language
changed.
because we had to do residential and commercial. So the shipping container itself, you took the numbers off, and are there any spaces between it and the ground?
No, it says flat on the ground.
Okay, so our issue right now is the setbacks.
Okay.
That is the issue we're talking about right now, is the setback rules, okay?
Okay.
Which is 20 feet
Is it 20
in your
now?
district,
Okay.
20 and 10.
20 and 10,
20 and 10?
20 and 10.
20 on the side, 10 in the rear.
And
So it could be pulled forward and moved over to the side and be within the,
And be within the
that
setbacks.
would, yeah, that'd be,
There'd be
okay,
no variances needed.
yeah.
So it would need to be, it's 17 feet?
He's 3 feet from the property line.
Yeah, so he needs to be 10
He'd need to move it an additional 17
from the back,
from the side,
from the side. 17 feet towards the barn,
3 feet
3 feet up.
from the rear.
Which puts me in the parking lot, and I don't think there's 17 feet over to that lawn.
well, if it,
Well,
No, I think did we look at this before he?
it's either that or pull it out.
it can't fit in the barn itself.
No, it won't fit.
And it can't fit in front of the barn.
In front of the barn?
Yeah.
Front of the barn.
Fit in front of the barn, but you lost your turn. You can't go around the building then.
I guess, what's more important to you? When I have a problem like that, what's more important? Is it more important to have the turn and have the room for the traffic, or is it more important to have your storage?
Both are very important. You got, so everybody's making money off of all this.
I don't know how much I'm making in money.
Well, the village.
John, are you making any money?
Volunteer.
I didn't know I got paid for this job.
No, you don't,
Well,
sir.
The village makes money. I make money.
They
That's
make-
what business is supposed to be about.
They
That's
made
what-
money before you put the trailer in there.
You make more now.
Now. They
So
made money
there's no
before you put
physical
the
way
trailer
this
in.
can fit on your property unless it is in that location.
That's the only spot.
Is that the only, I'm asking
Either that or
sincerely.
they're on the other side of the barn, which that's the wrong side.
How much room is there here?
Here's the door. Where's where?
This is where your door is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and people come
Yeah.
around this way, right? So how much room is there in between these?
I don't know what the measurement is, but we got parking here. You can see the lines.
Yeah.
It comes out about here.
I'm just wondering if you could move it here and then put parking back here.
The big thing is that turn.
here.
we're gonna screw things up.
But
And
the
then
only
people
thing
are gonna
is, you're
start
telling
getting-
me, and I understand, but you just told me there's parking right here.
They're right here, 1, 2, I think there's 2 of them right here.
Get rid of a
So it
parking
comes-
spot.
Is that those little white lines?
So my thing is, the trucks are already past these when they're turning. I've been in there, I've been in trucks.
So,
Well,
so like if you got a car parked here, they can still get past, right?
It's tight in there
Nobody
anyway.
can.
Nobody can?
No, well, yes, you can,
It's tight in
But
there
it's
anyway.
But
real
it's tight.
It's tight anyway.
It's
where people
tight.
are parking.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
tight.
Yeah.
But
There's
how many
people that
you
can't
got
even,
in?
if you park wrong, there's people that can't go around.
right.
I know that.
And that's, so it brings me back to where the variance part. That's why. Wait a minute. Now we can move up to, okay, the powers of planning and zoning board. So you guys have the power based on these conditions. There's A, B, C, D, I'm sure you guys all know the conditions,
Yep.
so I'm not gonna read them to you. But you know, a few of them, just a couple, the variance authorized, because of the layout of the land, that's one. Because in the there's something one in here, the unique physical circumstances or conditions. Most of all these I meet. The lot is narrow, it's not very long, it's not big enough, it's not, so the property I have is, I sort of need to use it. I mean, conditions, that are out of my control, that's out of my control, I didn't make the land, I didn't make the boundaries. Those are all out of my control.
But to say, that would be like saying, somebody wants to expand their business. And they want a bigger business. And a lot of times when people do that, they move. Because they expand their business and the place that they're at, they're limited. So because they can't do what they can't, they end up, I can think of many businesses in Holmes County that expanded and they moved from their original place. So you're right, sometimes, but then when the people are limited, they move out of the place they're at and they go bigger.
And you got a whole barn there that you could tear down, put a
Yeah.
trailer in there anyplace.
I don't want to tear that barn down. I have plans for that barn. There's plans for that barn someday. Now, I doubt it if I will ever be able to do those plans from the reaction I'm getting here. And I would have to come and ask you guys for permission, and I'm sure you wouldn't give it. It's just,
Well, JJ, I've sat here trying to help you come up with a plan so that you don't need our permission. And every single option that we've given you, not gonna work, not gonna work, not gonna work.
you get, one option, really, is put it in front of the barn.
Yeah,
That ain't really gonna work.
It
Because
will.
now you're gonna knock off your parking.
You're gonna have parking there where you have the trailer now.
Or
You already park 2 cars every day there, right next to it. So if that thing's out of there, there's room for 2 more. Plus, if you park them deep, if those are employees and they park behind each other, you'd have enough room there for 4 cars.
Well, I guess, yep.
I mean, the way I see it, there's 3 options. We can say, yep, that's fine, screw your neighbors. Or we could say, you could say, well, I'll figure out where else on my property I can move it so that the setbacks are fine and it doesn't bother my neighbors. Or we could say, get it out of there. Those are the only 3 options I see with this
I don't
scenario.
understand the screw my neighbor part.
Well, because the setbacks are there to protect the neighbors. They're not there to protect you.
So how's it hurting my neighbor?
Well, one, you're too close to the bowling alley for a fire hazard.
Why? I'm just asking.
Why?
What's the fire hazard?
Well, for one thing, what's in the trailer? Could be hazardous. We don't know.
What's in a bowling alley?
Could be
Their-
hazardous,
all their
we don't
back-
know.
All their machinery is in that back room. So if they have a fire in there, that's the number one place to go.
Okay, so you're gonna go through the wall?
Well,
If
you
the
might
bowling
have
alley
to.
catches on fire,
Because I talked to some of the guys in the fire department, and they didn't seem to think it was an issue. And they thought if there was gonna be a fire, a metal, great big metal box would be the best thing to have sitting there.
Well, then you must have
That'll
had,
end up having to get inspected anyway with our thing, right? Does he
Yeah,
understand that?
he'll have to,
So he
it'll
will-
get
He will have
inspected.
to have an inspection done by the
Yeah.
fire department, that's one of our
The
new
fire
rules.
chief will have to inspect your shipping container. That's one of the new rules
One of our new rules.
every year.
Accessory buildings, they inspect?
Yep,
For
Well, that's
business, for
fine, I don't
business.
care.
yeah,
For business.
whatever business,
Yeah.
every.
Every-
Well,
business, every
that
business.
was supposed to be a rule.
Every business, yeah, we just.
That's ruled in all cities. I have no problem with that. My insurance company already comes and does that, so that's easy.
So there, so in your opinion, there is no other way, what place on your property that you could move this shipping container it to be in compliance with
I don't
the,
believe so, no. Because of how the doors are set up, how I gotta get in it to load it.
okay, let me ask you this. Do you want a second shipping container? Have you thought of it?
Oh, I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna get another one. I'm gonna put it
That's
there.
what I needed to know.
well, where are you going, you don't have room for this one.
What?
Where are you going, where are you
I'm
going,
gonna buy two more.
Where are you gonna put
where are you
them?
gonna put them?
I'm gonna put one in my house and the other one up there at the shop. Did you ask me? You asked if I'm buying it. Yes. I'm
You
buying
knew
it.
We're-
what she meant.
we're talking about this
You knew what
location.
she
Am I
meant.
planning on putting any more there?
Yes.
Not, no, not at the moment. Will it ever happen? I don't know.
same old story.
What's the, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to be truthful. I'm getting this stuff
We're-
shipped from overseas, so.
We're trying to help you. Our job is not to just deny everything that comes in front of us.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be combative, we're actually trying to help you, but you just keep telling us that, nope, 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 this is the only place, nope, nope, nope. So what option do we have other than, yep, you can have it, or no, you can't? That's the only other option, when we've been trying to work with you and figure out where you could put it to be in compliance, and then you could walk out the door and keep your shipping container and not have to ask us.
But I don't believe any of those places are gonna put me in compliance.
Why
Even
not?
the place where you recommend because of the setbacks.
She just
If,
told
if,
you.
if it's
If you-
right here, you're gonna be 20 and 15 feet.
I don't know that I'm gonna be 20 and 15. We can go measure it, but I've been through, I kinda went down there and measured out some of this. Nate and I talked about this way back
That's scary.
when this was, because Nate suggested, well, if you just move right here, we're probably all right. But I don't really think we are.
I can measure.
But if I
Can you
measure
measure?
it right there,
Get on.
Chad's gonna measure it right now, so we'll know.
but if we move it up in front of that barn, you're taking the parking, or around.
There's a reason to discuss it, if you're not gonna move it there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I can't move it in front of that barn.
okay, then
It
there's no
can't
reason to
sit up
measure.
against the barn.
Huh?
It can't sit up against the barn. It'd be on the north side.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Up against the barn on the north side of the barn.
On this side of the barn,
Okay, I don't know.
Why can't, yeah, the north side.
the north side. Well,
Why can't it sit right there?
So move it against the barn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you're blocking the barn, I can't get into there.
What's in the barn?
Do you have another door to get in the barn? Is there another door on the other
There's
side?
doors on this side, there's doors on this side.
so
So you could get in the barn.
I could get it in there.
Yeah.
there's a door on that north side.
North
Yeah,
and
there's
south.
doors on the north and the south. Yes, south.
So you would still have access to the barn if you moved it up against there. And that's not an option?
No, north side, no, my container, the doors open up on
Can you,
that side.
Can you turn it
can you
around?
Then my other door, the doors where you load it are gonna be backwards. You can't load it.
So the
outside.
loading is facing towards the road.
Which you're not gonna meet setback anyways.
Yeah,
It's either,
it's gotta be here.
Let's see if you're gonna measure. The doors is here
yeah,
and here on the side. So if I move it over here, we're no good. If I flip it around, these doors are back here, I'm no
Yeah.
good.
you would
Yeah,
have to be clear.
it would have to be here,
Yeah.
If I
right?
move it, but I just don't stay on thing, but then you're not gonna be able to get,
Get around.
Yeah, I'm just saying, cause your setbacks, it would be here and that's about it on that property. Or variance.
and that's where I like the variance. I mean, the purpose of the variance is to provide limited relief from requirements of the code. You guys already know.
We know that.
That's what,
We know that. My concern with the variance is in 2 years, you come in, put another shipping container in and say, well, you let me have the other one and now I want this one too.
Yeah.
That's my
I'm
concern.
not
Yep.
putting any more shipping containers in.
But I'm just telling you that that's my concern because that's what happens all over town. One person does something and then everybody, the rules have to apply to everyone. And so if we grant you a variance, we gotta grant everybody else a variance. If we allow one thing, we gotta allow it. And that's the way it's always been and I'm tired of that.
And I
Everybody has to abide by the rules.
said it the last time that we discussed this, you know, one person does something, everybody else does it. That's our job as a board, is to prevent this kind of thing from happening. People just can't go and do whatever they want to do and then come in here and say, oh, I didn't know. Well, sometimes you need to know. I can't put a fence up in my backyard without checking on, you know, what the setback or the ordinance is on fences. I'd have done it by now. You knew, you put it in, and then you were saying you didn't know there was a rule. There's always been one for setbacks. We're trying to help you. Everything we say, you say no. I don't know what else we can do.
Well, I'm not saying no, we don't have the room. There's not enough room to meet any of those requirements. I mean, Chad, I think just told you that he just got the measurements.
You would have,
Right here.
I mean,
You
Probably
have to
in
put it
front,
right
that-
here.
I'd have to measure it after that,
But,
or we can measure it, but your barn's, I'm sure, more than 20 feet wide, it looks like.
well, we can't take away the parking either, or not parking, that turnaround. I mean,
Yeah, it's not, I'm not
that's
disagreeing.
gonna be detrimental.
No, and I
that's
understand
gonna
you're
harm-
gonna limit
that's
your
gonna harm
parking.
the business.
Your
If you
turn,
stick
your
that
space.
container up tight against the barn on the west side of the barn, if you shove that thing tight up against the barn,
Yep.
I don't see how it's gonna stick out any further than cars that are parked there.
And if any,
But if the cars, I'm sorry, but the cars, if the cars are parked there, you can't get around. You gotta wait for them, some of them move before you go around.
So where that little pad is you put in there, once you move that, you'd have some parking spots you could add there.
Right.
Those would now be parking spots for you.
Those aren't gonna, okay, but they're not gonna be parked spots. That's still gonna help the turn to go around. That don't eliminate those parking.
That is not I've been there, and sometimes that place is blocked when people don't park right. That is tight to go around that building to begin with. If
So if I
somebody,
put a container right there, how's that gonna help anything out? That's gonna make things a mess.
Well, that's the point, we're trying to help you with the container.
Right.
That's I'd say this board's only option is, if you're gonna meet the setbacks, it would have to be there. If it doesn't work for you, I mean, I understand that wholeheartedly, but understandably, it's,
So then you guys need to decide if you wanna bring it to
how
variance or not.
how far south could he go past the barn? In other words, with the trailer? Another up against the barn and then
No.
come south.
that's not gonna do him any good, because he needs access into the south side of his barn. And then if you stick it any farther to south, you're gonna be getting into the
Okay,
setback again.
yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion to either approve or deny the variance.
I'm abstaining.
I'm gonna make a motion to deny the variance based on the setback rules.
I'll second.
Coffee,
Aye.
McFarland,
Aye.
Schrock.
I've got a question. If we deny this, how long does he have to either move it or do with it whatever? We've already went 9 months or better screwing around here with this thing. So it's either gotta be moved, it's gotta be
Either
relocated,
moved or meet the setbacks.
whatever goes into this motion.
Yeah, yeah. I
You want me
agree.
to add
We
to the
need put some
motion?
kind of a time frame on it.
We need to be a time frame of some kind. Because it's 9 months and it'll just keep dragging out. We'll be back here every other month doing it again. So either need to make a motion that it goes in there, tries to relocate it, or it has to be moved.
Okay. I will change my motion to, if you can find a place for it that will be within the setback rules, you can move it wherever you want on your property as long as it's within the setback rules. If you can't, I'm gonna say 3 weeks.
That's the new motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All right, Hoffy,
Aye.
McFarland,
Aye.
Schrock,
Aye.
and Kellogg.
Yes.
Understand that? Okay.
I hope you can find a place for that. I really do. I really think that if you have parking there and I know that it's tight, but I really do hope that you can figure it out.
So January 29th would be 3 weeks from tonight, or do you want to go from tomorrow?
Tomorrow's
Yeah,
fine.
move for more.
Okay. January 30th, okay.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.